You'll have to hold the phone. We're live now, by the way, too. You'll have to hold the phone away, not too close to the mic because it'll get feedback. It's going to be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. This will be an interesting show trying to put this thing together. We are live now, and
Yes.
hello everybody. This is well, it's not Wednesday, so it's not Wing It Wednesday.
No, it's
Thursday. I don't
amateur
know.
hour Thursday.
Yeah, amateur hour. Yeah, there you go.
Again, we kind of say the same thing over and over, but I mean, after 300 and some odd shows, we're actually on show number 272, if I have that right. I mean, what all we're starting to run out of little quotes to say.
Well, we have perfected the craft on designating ourselves as being amateurs, and we are attempting to prove that here again once tonight. And
Yeah. Well, and look, we may not have a big crowd because we skipped Tuesday because both you and I went to the First Church celebration of Charlie Kirk's, which was a nice event. There were, pretty good crowd of people there. And I guess tonight they're having a football game or something, so who knows if we'll even have anybody watching. But I do see we have a few guests. So
yeah, they're coming in, and look, we've got a lot of content. There's a lot of stuff that has taken place. We are going to obviously talk about the circumstances regarding Charlie Kirk, and additionally, that young lady that was murdered on the train. There's some other things locally. I can't pronounce her last name. I can barely pronounce her first name, but Irina Zariski.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and additionally, there's some other local and regional things that we need to talk about. Specifically, like I hear there was a big meeting in Vernon Parish, and we've got some guests that are going to update us and tell us in regards to carbon capture,
Yeah.
and a police jury kind of turned tail and went an opposite direction from what I understand they conveyed to the public.
Yeah.
And I think you've got some information regarding, man, school buses. I don't know that I'd want to ride a school bus these days.
It can be a little dangerous. Hey, turn the volume down on your phone just a little bit so we don't get so much echo in, or because it's kind of going back around. But yeah, and actually, I want to wait till we come back from the break. I want to talk about that school bus incident for a minute because I want a few more people to be on to see if anybody's heard about this. And so the more people that are watching, the more people that might have heard about it and can answer us. Hey, I do want to let the Bossier City Council know that they owe us some thanks. Did you know that?
Thanks.
Yes. Look,
Okay, do tell. I'm
we
all ears.
we posted the Bossier City Council meeting and that workshop deal, with Richard Ray's famous little banner back and forth with Mr. Hammonds, and that is at 12,000 views. 12,000.
Yeah.
And the council meeting itself is at 19,000. That's 19,000 people that have viewed their city council meeting across our platform on Facebook. So they need to step up their game. They don't get that many views on any of their YouTube meetings. I'm just saying.
Hey, as usual, we're just trying to help them out, right? They need a
Well,
little advertisement.
and we've helped Tommy out as well. Did you know that? The exceedingly unfortunate video reel, the little vertical short video with Richard Ray demonstrating how great of an attorney our tax dollars are getting as the assistant city attorney. That video is at over 55,000 views now. See there, Tommy, we're helping you out. We're helping your reelection chances.
Yeah, well, it's a little premature for him to be thinking about reelection. I think he might be going to have some problems in the future. But hey, that's what we got on tap. I think we need to go to the break. Let's work on
Yeah.
some of these tech issues while we're at the break, and we'll be right back.
We'll do that. We'll be back, folks. Y'all know the drill. We'll be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. Go make you some popcorn, make you a stiff drink, call, text some friends, share this deal out. We'll be back. We're going to talk about buses real quick, and then we'll bring the guests in, or who knows, with amateur hour. Here we go.
A lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked there's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
I titled it A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys.
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
Aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. Oh, folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS.
We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Through conscious shocking actions, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr. In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And we're back again. So, proceeding with our amateur hour status, let's discuss buses and then decide what we're going to do with our guests who are patiently waiting.
Yeah, this is going to be somewhat difficult. So, I mean, man, this has been a rocky road. We normally do our shows Tuesday night, and thankfully, and I want to give credit to First Bossier that put together a Charlie Kirk prayer vigil, and you were there, I was there. We canceled the show to be able to go to that, and we encouraged folks watching the show to go, and I thought it was a really good turnout, and you wasn't right there, but the Pastor Brad Jerkovich came up and thanked us for canceling our show and directing folks to come to that and share it. And
oh, did he really? Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he did, and so I think it was a good deal. I enjoyed myself, and I think it was much needed. In fact, I think it's needed kind of really across the country because like me, I struggled this week a little bit. I mean, I went through all of the emotions that someone could have, from anger and try. I mean, it put a lot of people to the test. I mean, how can you go through a lot of the things that have happened and not feel, the inside you that you want vengeance? And we know that's wrong, but it's human nature, right? And you got to cope with that.
Oh, I'm still pissed off about it. I mean, the one emotion that I deal with really well and generally have is anger, and I'm still pissed off about it. But enough time has passed that, I can control what I say and don't say, or should say and should not necessarily say publicly across the interwebs. But yeah, we'll talk about that some more. Hey, let's, and I agree that the First Bossier deal we enjoyed it. I got to say this too, and I don't want to dwell on it too much because we got the guests waiting. We need to get them on here in just a couple of minutes, but I do want to say that my son Michael and I mean, while we were there, we're scanning rooftops, even though there was a large Bossier PD presence. Fire department was there, sheriff's deputies were there, and all that. We didn't feel, and I hate to say feel unsafe because you're never actually safe, but we were scanning rooftops, periodically scanning the crowd just to make sure. I mean, it kind of really put in perspective that how vulnerable we really are, no matter what. And it's like I tell people, there's a big difference in feeling safe and being safe, and you can never truly be safe, period.
You know what's interesting about this, and I'm not sure exactly how. We're going to hear the story here in a second with our guest, but there is a tie-in to this Charlie Kirk thing with the carbon capture meeting that took place in Vernon Parish, and I'm not sure about the story, but we're fixing to hear it with one of these two guests. And as you know, we highlighted and have talked about, this carbon capture crap that has essentially been run down the throats of people in Louisiana. And I mean, I get calls, a lot of calls from people, asking. Got a call today, and this is kind of what spawned our guest coming on today, wanting a little bit of information about, maybe what we should do, and because, as you know, you and I have intimate experience with, term limits in Bossier and citizen activism and getting things kind of going. And I don't want to I don't want to jump ahead, so I think we should go ahead and bring the guests in. Let's talk about it, and I'll get back to that point here in just a minute.
Yeah, I agree. So, folks, y'all absolutely stay with us because this is going to be interesting. And then when we get done with them, we're going to talk about the school bus incident. And I don't know if it involves Netflix or whatever. So you want to make sure you get some more Bossier Parish School Board parents tuning into the show when we talk about that. All right, let me see if I can switch screens.
Did you say Netflix on a school bus?
Well, maybe it was Hulu. I don't know, but yes.
Well, okay, so the bus driver was watching Netflix or Hulu on the school bus, and well, what about the kids? What happened to the kids?
Well, apparently they got put out, and these were
put out
allegedly.
Did they want to change the channel?
Allegedly, let me couch this very carefully because again, I'm getting this from a parent that was involved coming through a third person. So that's why I want to see if anybody has heard about this yet. But apparently, I'm not going to name any of the names, certainly of any of the kids or the bus driver on it, but it was Bus 290, Bossier Parish bus, school system bus, full of Platt and Princeton Elementary kids on Bellevue Road, somewhere around the country living little driveway. I think there's kind of maybe a trailer park or something right there. Allegedly, this bus driver has a problem with watching according to the kids, movies on her phone while driving and weaving. Some incident happened with some students on the bus. The bus driver puts all of the kids out. In the midst of all this, one of the kids, I guess, got so excited or nervous or everything going on, has an asthma attack, which required not only the Bossier Sheriff's Department, but paramedics. And the kids had to be picked up by their parents, apparently off of Bellevue Road around country living. Now, that's the story I've got that may not be 100% accurate. I'm sure it's not. But and we don't do ambulance chasing. There has to be a political tie-in, and the political tie-in is here we go with another instance of the Bossier Parish School Board.
Okay, so the kids interrupted their Netflix, and off to the side of the road they go. Got it. Okay, let's get our guests in.
That's pretty much it.
Wow.
All right, now
that kind of makes carbon sequestration seem pretty easy.
Yeah, let's see if these guys can top that. Now, Chris, to let you know, I can hear you now, so whatever mic problem you had, I think is fixed. You might not need your telephone.
So y'all can hear me?
I got you now.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
All right, so hang up phones.
Done.
Okay.
Done.
Hanging up.
So
right.
I'll get us going here, and my phone started ringing this morning. We were planning out, y'all just heard us drone on about what we did Tuesday night, and we canceled our show and moved it tonight. So we're thankful that there's at least somebody watching us tonight, because we don't it was unplanned and we don't normally do it. And we didn't have any plans as of just a little while ago of having any guests, but here you guys are. And Vernon Parish, I mean, I was paying attention to it that y'all had a really important meeting. I knew Chris was going to be there, and this gentleman that you brought on or had come on with us here, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him as yet. And we're going to get y'all to kind of spill the beans on what happened here, because as I appreciate it, this may be a circumstance that could play out in other parishes. I mean, we could see this same exact thing happen across multiple parishes. And so, Chris, if you want to set the stage, go ahead.
Well, I'll just first of all, I asked Gary. I gave him, really ample notice about coming on. I asked him about 4.5 minutes ago if he'd be willing to come on to the show, because he has such a breadth of knowledge on this issue, and really, really has informed and educated so many people on it. This monstrous issue of carbon capture sequestration. I tend to approach it from a constitutional and a legal perspective, although I do have some appreciation for the very questionable nature of carbon capture sequestration as a practice. The huge concern that I have is the fact that people they're getting their property expropriated and seized for this boondoggle that we're paying for. And that's what I find so obnoxious. Gary knows a lot more about the minutia of it than I do, but I am fighting like the Dickens, my organizations, as Gary is, to make sure that our fundamental core property rights are protected in our state, and to make sure that these private corporations are not allowed to seize property at our expense for their enrichment, because it's not a public good. This is strictly economic enrichment for private corporations and really for politicians. And so that's why we're fighting against it. I've had an opportunity. In fact, I met Gary at one of the meetings on this. And I just feel very, very thankful that Gary's here with us to talk about this very important issue.
Well, Gary,
and about Vernon Parish, quite frankly, because Vernon Parish is the one, where Gary can tell you about it, where and I haven't heard the audio, but where apparently people who oppose carbon capture sequestration for all the right reasons are somehow in some way linked to people as bad as the people who killed Charlie Kirk, and that makes me enraged.
Well, Gary, introduce yourself, and what brings you to the carbon capture fight? What is your role, position, if any, and then segue into what took place in Vernon Parish, and why does that matter? Why should somebody in Bossier Parish, in the most northern part of Bossier Parish, let's just say plain dealing, why should that matter to them? Why should they care?
Absolutely. Let's get into it. So I got involved with carbon capture about 2 months ago. I believe it was when Pineville had a public hearing at their local high school. So a couple of days before that hearing, I started digging into what CCS was about. It didn't take me very long to realize this is not a good deal. It's not a good deal for landowners. It's not a good deal for our environment. It's not a good deal for our water aquifer. And quite frankly, in my opinion, it's unconstitutional. So I got involved with Save My Louisiana and some other organizations that if you go to Save My Louisiana, you can link to many organizations throughout Louisiana that are committed to fighting this. So anyhow, I got involved, and then we've had some public meetings here in Rapides Parish, and it's going well to get the information out to educate people on the dangers of carbon capture and sequestration. So I found out Friday this weekend that Vernon Parish was having a police jury meeting. Now, listen, what happens in Vernon Parish directly affects what happens to the people in Rapides Parish. You see, there are no subsurface boundaries that separate our shared water aquifer. The Chico water aquifer shared about it's shared with about 15 parishes down here. So if Vernon Parish wants to approve, their police jury wants to pass a resolution supporting CCS, and you have a company called, its name is Capture Point Energy. They're the company that's drilling these wells. The state will certify them here soon once they're done. They're class 5 wells. It's the test wells. They're the pre-wells to the injection permitting, which is the class 6. Once that CO2 starts getting into our ground, I don't care. I've asked Greg Upton directly. He's one of the LSU cheerleaders. It works for LSU. I mean, not LSU, but with the Louisiana Department of Energy and Natural Resources. I asked him directly, are y'all going to guarantee that this is not going to damage or affect our water aquifer? All of them said no. Yeah, there's no
Gary,
guarantee.
Gary, I got to stop you. You're telling me
Okay.
that carbon capture sequestration policy may be being made by LSU cheerleader? Did I hear that correctly?
That's what I call them. You heard it right. You see what happened, what's going on is somewhere within Baton Rouge, they decided to get a bunch of scientists and department heads to start going around to parishes and tell them how well and how good CCS is. And so what they're doing is they're really entertaining the police jury and trying to sway the police jury so that when these companies come in and start pitching these billion-dollar companies, and it's kind of funny when you start listening to some of these police jurymen. In my opinion, they're stepping over $100 bills to pick up pennies. But anyhow, these companies are coming in promising them, $10 billion a year for the next 10 years. We're going to give to your parish. Economic development is what? 80 jobs. So is the benefits worth the risk? No, I don't. You don't mess with life, liberty, property, and you surely don't mess with our water aquifers.
Now,
And so,
I got a question for you, Gary, though, because I just thought of a benefit. So the former wannabe chemical engineer in me just had this thought.
Sure.
If it's going to potentially get into the aquifer, I mean, don't y'all want to have nice, fresh, sparkling, fizzy water with all the carbonation that's in it? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Open up the spigot and we have Coke right out the faucet.
Add a little sugar, add a little flavoring. Yeah. I mean, come on. They're saving you guys money.
We're all good to go. But, people need to educate themselves. I can spend hours tonight with you guys on the dangers of what's coming and what Governor Landry has done to our state. Listen, Governor Landry has committed 40% of the nation's carbon dioxide to be sequestered under Louisiana.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is incredible. Yes. So when you ask what's going to happen up in North Louisiana, are y'all familiar with the direct air capture system that they're putting up there? It's by Heirloom. You heard of it?
Yeah,
we've heard.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely the port
okay, good.
Is the one ramrodding that. Yeah, we're definitely intimately aware of it.
Well, I think that's the beginning of the headwaters up in North Louisiana, so that these other companies can tie into it through this system of pipes, CO2 pipe network that they're planning on building. So anyhow, going back to Vernon Parish, I'm very concerned. Look, I didn't go over there to attack the police. I mean, the police jury. I don't know those people. And they could be good, God-fearing men. I don't know them at all. I went over there just to speak on behalf of me as Joe Citizen. Please back off of this resolution, because once you do that, you're going to open the door. You're going out on a limb that's cracking, and you can't come back when it breaks. So I went over there to plead with them, stay with the original resolution. They wrote a resolution last August joining the efforts of those of us who are fighting CCS. They were part of the alliance. And they rescinded that resolution. They backed off that resolution Monday. And now they wrote a resolution saying that We support economic development, whether it is with CCS or without CCS. What does that mean? I mean, there's no weight to that. So, anyhow, the police juryman, the president, his name is James Tuck. He kept he had this straw man attack where the industry that was standing up at the podium, their economic development. And then there's anti-CCS in the House. So you have economic development versus anti-CCS. That's what he was calling us. And he says, people, these companies, they have no choice into capturing carbon. They're being mandated to do this. So if they're mandated to do this and they're going to push this down our throats, we as the police jury at least need to protect ourselves, and then we need to get paid. In essence, that's what he said. So I raised my hand. I didn't say a word. I raised my hand. Everybody was speaking. People were upset. Yes, they were upset.
Gary, meaning the parish needs to get paid,
Yeah.
or the people, the taxpayers, or the
That's
parish.
right. That's right.
Okay.
The parish needs to be paid. Right. So so when I raised my hand and he finally called on me, and I said, sir, can you cite any federal or state legislation that mandates these companies to capture carbon? And he had no answer. He just, yeah, it's everywhere. That's what they've been talking. Look at them. They're having to do it. That's why they're here. I said, no, sir. There's no legislation. There's no federal legislation. There's no mandate. There's no state mandate, no state legislation that requires industry to capture carbon. So one of the executives came up and he says, yeah, there is. It's kind of, it's through the EPA. And then I said, no, sir. And he said, you going to let me talk? I said, go ahead. So he kind of, skirted around the policy. But here's the policy with the EPA. The EPA's policy is that if you're going to participate in the 45Q tax credits, here's what you got to do. You got to scrub carbon. Now, you can take it, you can scrub it through scrubbers on smokestacks, emissions. The only requirement for sequestration, get this, is for new coal plants. New coal plants. You ask why we haven't built any new coal plants? Because if they do, it's going to cost more money than they can afford to build the thing, because they have to sequester. That's the only requirement, and it's a policy through the EPA. There's no mandate. So when I told him that, I don't think he liked that very much. So he got a lot of heat from a lot of people. And some lady spoke up, and he didn't like it. And he said, y'all are nothing. Y'all with this, y'all don't want to hear the other side. Y'all want to just overtalk everybody. You don't want to listen to anybody. Y'all are no more. He said, y'all are no different than the people who shot and killed Charlie Kirk.
Well,
I stood up. I said, sir, I gave him a way out. I said, sir, are you seriously comparing those of us who are against carbon capture and sequestration to the murderer of Charlie Kirk?
No, wait a
He
minute.
said, yes, y'all won't listen.
Who is this guy? Who is this guy, and what organization was he with?
He's the parish police jury. He's the president of the Vernon Parish Police Jury.
all right, hold on. I
Jim
got an absolutely important question here. So they are the police jury. They're a taxing authority. So is there audio and should be video, depending on the size of Vernon Parish, from this meeting?
Yes.
Does anybody know? Okay.
I have the audio.
All right, yeah, we need to get the audio pushed out there, because that's part. We've had a question. Miss Ruth Pope says, how do we fight this statewide instead of parish by parish? Well, you got to start at the local level, Miss Ruth. And the first thing you do is you start getting the audio and video out there of these folks saying stupid crap like that. The second thing is, I don't know why everybody calls it carbon capture sequestration, because capturing carbon is one thing, capturing CO2 is another. So these morons don't even know what to call it.
That's right.
Well, so
Exactly.
let me weigh in here. Here's my thing, and I don't want anybody watching this, and Chris, by all means, you're my friend. You can cut me down here and challenge me. That's fine. But I would be remiss if I didn't say this. And Chris, I know you were down in the trenches, and I know that. But here we are. We're at the end of this. We're kind of at the end of this thing, and we're at the point of implementation, and now people are coming to the fight. And it, from my viewpoint, the fight was back during when this was in the legislature, and codifying it being legal. That was when we really needed to fight. Now we're at a point, and I don't know if this is accurate or inaccurate, but from experience following things that have taken place, let's say, for example, in Bossier Parish, and even most recently, and y'all wouldn't know this case, but I do know of a case in Bossier where the police jury was trying to enforce a rule to prevent somebody from doing something with their property. It went all the way to the Louisiana Supreme Court, and the Louisiana Supreme Court ruled in favor of the people and the property owner in that particular case. But what I'm trying to say is that in essence, what the Louisiana Supreme Court was saying was that the local government couldn't stand in the way of the owners of the property and or the people in that businesses that wanted to move forward with something. They couldn't stand in the way. So what I'm saying is when the Vernon Parish police jury, I mean, and forgive me for not being adequately educated on Vernon Parish, but I'm going to take a stab that they don't have a lot of money, and if they were in the position to have to take on a legal battle with arguably one of the biggest oil and gas companies in the world, they don't have the resources to do that. They would be done probably right out of the gate. So isn't the deck stacked against them? And I mean, we all advocate that we want our politicians to fight and fight to the death, but am I wrong in thinking that maybe if they took the position that we should fight, they would be committing suicide? I mean, what's worse, suicide by doing that and then costing and bringing all the taxpayers down with them, or committing suicide and the people are just going to vote them out? I mean, do y'all see the point I'm making here? I'm not defending anything.
Can I jump in and help answer that for you?
Please.
So Allen Parish last month, they passed a ordinance. They passed an ordinance that Exxon could not bring their CO2 pipeline within 500 feet. I mean, within 2,500 feet of a public school. The way the law is written right now is they can be within 500 feet of a school. Well, Allen Parish said, no, we're going to pass an ordinance to protect our school. You can't be closer than 2,500 feet. Guess what ExxonMobil did? Threatened a lawsuit.
They're going to sue.
Threatened a lawsuit saying you don't have standing because the state has jurisdiction over this. So Allen Parish had to back off. Here's the answer to this. When all the parishes stand together and unite, how strong is ExxonMobil going to be at that point? Now, we're going to be able to get every parish together, but if we can get 25, we can get 30, we can get half the parishes in this state together, we have a big chance, stand a great chance. Now, say my Louisiana, we have hired some attorneys, and right now we're looking at a lawsuit against the violation of the Constitution. We believe that they violated the Constitution when they passed Senate Bill 553. Passing that Senate bill took away your property rights and my property rights. And in 2006, The people of Louisiana amended our Constitution under Section 4 to strengthen property owners' rights. And what Governor John Bell Edwards did back in 20, is he took that right away along with the legislators in that legislative session of 2020. And so we're looking at legal action right now to see if we can stop this thing.
You see, that's my opinion of the path that this needs to go. I mean, the calls that I've gotten is about organizing recalls and petitions and things of that nature. And I see that as being actions that are late in the game. I think now you're to the point, by the time you were to affect any of those things, if you did them, it's already going in the ground. It's too late. Even if you were successful, right. not to even have the discussion of how you're trying to push that square block up the hill. But
so I want to paint this picture so everybody listening can really grasp this picture. Paint in your mind's eye the state of Louisiana. Now imagine a 48-inch pipeline coming from Bossier, the port there, all the way down to Cameron Parish. It's a CO2 trunk line, a main line. At the
a new line that's built specifically to specs to be able to house this type of, or an existing line that was not built to specs.
A new line. It will be a new line. We're told, but you're correct. It could be an existing line for specs, but just imagine this corridor. When I say the corridor, I'm talking about the I-49 and the 171 corridor, north and south. And in between that, imagine industry coming in that are carbon capture industries, and a network of 90,000 miles of CO2 pipeline crisscrossing all across Louisiana. And you have no say over it. You don't know where it's going. If they want to put a valve in your front living room, they can do it. They can take your house, tear it down, and put a valve there. Now, they passed in the House Bill 244 that they did pass. They did raise the unit block to, it has to be greater than 85%. So 86% of that block has to be in agreement before the other 15% can be expropriated. If you don't have 86% of that block, you can't do anything. So that was a little buffer. But when you get large landowners, I'm not going to say who, but large landowners up and down between 171 and I-49, it won't take much to get to 86% of that land. And those neighborhoods and subdivisions that's left in that 15%, you have no say. And and beyond that, that bill took away our right, our fundamental right for our property. We own our pore space and we own our surface space. And the government had no business giving that to a private industry for private gain. There is no public use.
And let me jump in here for just a second, Gary. And let me jump in here for just a second here, Gary, because I just want to make sure you're exactly right about that, Gary, because SB 353 is the granddaddy of them all from 2020, and that's the bill that declared as a matter of public policy in Louisiana that carbon capture sequestration is a, quote, public good for purposes of eminent domain, because in order to use eminent domain to seize property, it has to be for a public good. Well, this past session, SB 244 repealed that. It eliminated, repealed the law up until that point that carbon capture sequestration is a public good. Fortunately, because it's absolutely not a public good, they're burying basically toxic waste into the ground. So they have to prove that they're a common carrier exercising or transporting a commodity in the public interest, which they're going to have a very hard time doing at this point. Which, if they cannot do that, then they will be violating the constitutional provision that says you cannot expropriate property purely for economic gain. And that's why I think the lawsuit that Gary is talking about has a very good chance of surviving and prevailing, because they're going to have a hard time showing that they're a common carrier transporting a public commodity. There is no public use here. There is no public utility here. They are simply burying a toxic waste into the ground permanently.
Okay, let me jump in here because I want to pose a hypothetical here, because while some people think that I haven't followed this, and some people think that I'm uninformed on this, and that's fine. Maybe I am, but you guys are going to clear me up here. So let's just say, for giggles, that pumping this stuff down in the ground is not a bad thing. Let's just say that we don't have to worry about the corrosiveness in the lines and any rupture and people dying. We don't have that. There's no risk there. Let's just assume none of that's a risk, and let's just assume that we're going to be able to pump ton after ton after ton under every house in Bossier Parish. All of Bossier Parish, we can, and I'm saying that because that's where the majority of the folks that watch our show and subsequently afterwards are from. It's Bossier, and we can put just more tons than you can put on cargo ships ever under the ground, right? And we're going to pull it all out at some point in the future, and we're going to convert it into some mythical fuel that we'll be able to use in jets or what have you. Here's my question. Will the landowners from where that's pulled from, will they get any kind of compensation for that?
No, they don't own it.
Yeah. Oh, so we're going to expropriate everybody's property. We're going to pump something that allegedly is going to be something that would eventually at some point be able to be converted to a fuel if it's extracted at some point. So the argument of this is in our better end, and I know I kind of set y'all up. We're doing this because at some point we're going to turn it into a fuel. There's another, idea here. You're saying that that's not accurate, and oh, by the way, if they do it, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Right.
Well, all
not
right.
only
So
that, but when I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Gary. Then I'll jump in. Go ahead.
No, but the the irony of it is when I asked Greg Upton, I said, are we going to ever be able to take this out? They said no. I said, why? Because you can't. We put it in there. Why can't we take it out? The reason why they can't take it out is because it's monetized. What that means is they have assigned a dollar figure per metric ton. So if they pull that back out, it devaluates this new market. You understand what they've created? They've created an entire market for this industry, a new money system.
But all you need is new legislation to change it.
Now you're on to something. See, here's the thing to me is I don't buy into, and let me explain why. I don't buy into so much the dangers of the pipelines. I mean, who of the four of us have actually worked on pipelines before? I have. Okay. Gotcha. So do you understand how many pipelines there literally are crisscrossing our state that are pumping stuff that's arguably much worse, even though I love driving my truck and running my boat up and down the lake that burns 26 gallons an hour. So I'm not against oil and gas at all, but that are far more dangerous. All right, that are far more dangerous than CO2. And I got to say, if they're really, I'm hearing this, and I'm still kind of new into it, especially the situation in Vernon Parish. But I'm hearing on one hand it's not going to create too many jobs, but on the other hand, they're going to build 90,000 miles of pipelines, which does create a lot of jobs, at least temporarily. The biggest problem I have is the capture of not the carbon. I mean, and if private industry wants to do that and capture carbon, let them go do it as long as our tax dollars aren't subsidizing it. But the problem I have is the property seizure.
That's right.
And them being able to do that. And let me just tell you, not far from Vernon Parish is Colfax, Louisiana. Why do I bring up Colfax, Louisiana? Because there was a business there, they're still there, Clean Harbors, huge company. They have been literally open burning stuff for years. I was heavily involved in that. And guess what happened to them? Pretty much nothing for decades. Literally, I can't go burn a car tire out my front yard, but they can burn almost anything they want, and the state did nothing about it.
Nothing.
So, and the police jury did literally nothing about it. So if you think the police juries down there in those areas, which are, don't have a ton of economic activity, are going to jump up and stop the dollar signs that are coming in, y'all got another thing coming, unfortunately. And I say that not because I'm for carbon capture. I'm really not. I really don't care about the carbon capture itself. It's that our government tax dollars are subsidizing it while they're seizing property.
Yeah, sure. And the argument is, even in these meetings, we get, well, look, our farmers get tax subsidies. All these industries get tax. And that's my answer to them is, I don't eat carbon. I'm not eating carbon. I give 100%. I don't care. Our farmers feed us. Are you growing food? I'm not growing food. I'm going to the grocery store depending on my farmers. Thank God for our farmers. But I don't eat CO2. I don't. Here's another thing nobody's thinking about. Maybe you are. All right, CO2 is initially, these carbon credits started under George Bush in 2008. All right, and it was for EOR. But there's some speculation that you can pump CO2 in the ground and you can move oil and gas to a production well using CO2. That's what it was initially for. So now you're going to listen to this. We're sitting on the Austin Chalk, the Tuscaloosa chalk, the Austin Chalk. It's deep. The oil and gas is here. They're wanting to pump CO2 a mile down in the ground. I've talked to, and if you're in the oil and gas business, I've talked to oil and gas geologists that say you pump 40,000 acres of CO2 plumes under one injection well, you can kiss your mineral rights, even if you had them. Let's just say you had mineral rights. You can kiss that goodbye. We're not drilling through that stuff. We're not going through. Not only that is, there's no guarantee that when you're doing that you're not already pushing oil and gas to another unit or another block. So unless you have millions of dollars, you can go hire your own company to prove that a capture point is not moving oil and gas when they start injection. You have to go by what they say. Reason why is because everything's redacted. You can request their permits. You can request what they're doing. They're redacted. It's proprietary. You can't get information. Yet the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, which are the gatekeepers to the permit, the Class 6 permit, depend on them to tell them whether or not that the formation is suitable for CO2. Louisiana cap, this rock cap they're talking about, geologists I talk to, is not suitable. It doesn't have four corners. So imagine your head, all right? You got four corners here, and CO2, your head's your cap. We don't have that formation in Louisiana. It's a flat rock. And so it's going to migrate north. So when you pump CO2, it's going to go in north. My only concern with CO2 in the ground is, number one, you're taking away my property rights, my mineral rights, my oil and gas, what may be under my property. And number two is my aquifer. We're in the nursery business in Forest Hill. We have over 200 nurseries in my area, and we are 100% dependent on our water aquifer. You get CO2 in the ground and it starts coming up in that water aquifer. They can't guarantee it won't. It turns into carbonic acid. And when it turns into carbonic acid, the pH levels drop and you're not going to grow anything at all. And then you're going to start leaching metals. And when that carbonic acid starts leaching metals, zinc, what's the other one? Nickel, all this stuff, these metals start leaching into our water aquifer. We're done. This is our sole source aquifer. That's one thing. You don't mess with water, life, liberty, and our property. And our state government did exactly that. And they are to protect that. And they gave it away.
Yeah. And I was there and watched it, and I was there and watched it happen time and time and time again. And I can just tell you guys, and it may not have resonated up in your area to the degree that it is resonating down here, but this is becoming a massively important issue in Louisiana. Even people who don't really understand carbon capture sequestration are saying, as Rex mentioned a minute ago, why are our tax dollars subsidizing this? If this is an enterprise that will stand on its own 2 feet and is organically profitable and economically beneficial, then use your own money to do it, number one. And if it is so good and so popular, you shouldn't have to force your way onto people's land to do it. And that's, those are the 2 big issues that I have with this. And I think our legislature truly, absolutely just, let us down colossally in this past session. I know what happened in South Dakota. What just happened in our legislature initially happened up in South Dakota. And the people of South Dakota were so angry about it that they turned out 14 state legislators in South Dakota, just turned them out of office, drummed them out, elected a new crop, and now eminent domain for carbon capture sequestration is entirely outlawed throughout the state of South Dakota. And I'm not, the best political prognosticator in the world, but I do a lot of politics, and I have a pulse on how Louisiana citizens are responding to this. And this is simply a bridge too far for people.
Well,
let me share one thing with you guys. We had a 2.5 hour meeting, a face-to-face meeting with Governor Landry last week. And he told us, give me 30 days. Okay. He says, if you don't want CCS, it won't come to your parish. That's what he told us. He said, give me 30 days. Let's see how we can work this out. And this week, I don't know if we have 30 days after what Vernon Parish did, because we let them know, give us 30 days. Don't do this. Let's see what Governor Landry is going to do. Now we're waiting on the governor to act, and we hope.
It was a week ago, right, Gary? It was a week ago. It was a week ago that y'all met with him, right?
That's correct. That's correct. He's pushing industry, he's pushing economic development, and he's pushing it at all costs. I asked him, why did you plant your flag on this industry? Because you have just sold our property for these companies to come in and take it. So he says, give them 30 days. So I'm asking police juries across the state, slow it down. Don't get yourself out on these limbs and promise your citizens and your parishes that these billion-dollar companies are going to come in. If they come in and you start giving tax abatements and pushing this industry into your parishes, not knowing what the ramification is going to be in 5 years, 10 years, and you're going to be stuck with this mess, and your taxpayers are going to be holding the bill. What happens up in Bossier when Heirloom goes out of business because this climate hoax is what it is, this climate change hoax? What's going to happen up there when Heirloom goes out of business because nobody's buying carbon credits? That's all that is a carbon credit manufacturing company. That's all they're doing. And so what happens to the residents up there? They're going to be stuck with that bill, with that piece of junk sitting up there.
Exactly, because it is the port who is subsidized by taxpayer of Bossier, Caddo, I think in DeSoto, tax dollars. All of that is subsidized by that. And, the ports are out of control, and it's not just in Bossier, it's across the whole state.
That's right.
We highlighted the fact that, there was legislation that was passed, and to his credit, a Democrat, former mayor of Shreveport, brought it to the forefront and opposed the bill a couple of years ago, enabling these ports to have unfettered ability to go forward with these types of things with no checks and balances. It don't matter what the police juries, it don't matter what any municipality, city government has to say. These ports have gotten the legislative ability to move forward. It don't matter who. Yeah. With anything. It was Cedric Glover. To his credit, Cedric Glover raised the alarm on that. I mean, look, I don't agree with Cedric Glover on, I can't tell you really anything, but this is maybe the only thing I agree with.
That goes to prove this isn't a Democratic Republican issue.
No, not at all.
This is just a American. This is a people's issue, and the governor wants to just let it go to the police jury. Let the police jury make the decision. Well, obviously that's not going to work. Vernon Parish has proven that that's not work. Even in Rapides Parish, police jurymen, they're running around courting Sungas Beaver Lake Renewables, another methanol plant to ship biofuels over to Europe.
No,
they're popping up in every parish.
Gary, I want to stop you, and yep. Chris it may raise Chris's dander, and that's fine. But I'm not defending the governor on his position. But what I am going to say is the governor has taken the most heat on all of this, and I don't think it's fair for the governor to be the only one to blame. I haven't heard enough blame being laid at the feet of the legislators, because they equally, while the governor has his responsibility for signing any of this into law, and well, maybe helping to usher it.
Actually, the governor Landry didn't sign this into law at all. I told the governor, you didn't sign this. You didn't do this.
He didn't do this. You're right, Gary. He didn't do this.
But he's planting his flag on it.
But the governor,
you have to understand. Under our constitutional system, our governor, because of the line item veto, has extraordinary power over these legislators. And I'm not making excuses for these legislators. The problem is this: when you have that kind of power in the governor's office, and you enjoy that power in the governor's office, you have a responsibility to do what is right by the people. I guarantee you, if Governor Landry had sent a clear message to that legislature that it is unconstitutional and it's obnoxious that a private corporation would be able to seize and expropriate people's property for their own enrichment at our expense, then we wouldn't be sitting here right now, Duke. I'm not giving the governor 1 ounce of leeway on this.
I am not asking you to, and I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is the only criticism that I hear out there is of Governor Landry, and I'm not saying it's misplaced. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, and not enough criticism has been levied on these legislators who enabled it. And I'll say,
Duke, we've been naming them by name, Duke. No, I've been going to parishes all over this state talking to people about what their legislators are doing. It's all over our social media.
We have, but the problem is
we're trying to kick these people out of office.
The problem is, and we've all got it on the alert system now, but the problem is we're Johnny come lately to it, all of us. That's the problem. It's the genie's out of the bottle, and the genie's got a lot of cash, our cash.
Not everybody. Chris, to his credit, and his group have absolutely been calling the legislators out. But case in point, we've got a U.S. Senate race coming up, and there's a distinction between the candidates on this issue. And I'm just saying, boy, I only hear a little bit of discussion on that issue, and some candidates were full throated 100% in this thing. But yet, you only hear certain criticism. I mean, it's like our interest in politics supersedes what's in the best interest of the citizens. And there is criticism that is warranted to be made against some people, but it's not being made. And it's because we want to make sure that our candidate is successful, and not enough criticism. And it's not at you, Chris, and your
Look,
group.
I know what you're saying.
Y'all have
And
carried
let me
your
say,
water, no doubt.
I will say it out loud. Mike Johnson, I am disappointed. And I voted for Mike. I'm talking about Speaker Mike Johnson. I'm talking about the guy who is 3 heartbeats away from the president. He can walk into Trump's office right now, and I love it. I love these guys. Well, I love what they're doing. But Mike Johnson is silent on this. He voted the big beautiful bill into office. He put this stuff on steroids. Now he can go into Trump's office and say, "Sir, we need to end it right now. My people's land is being stolen from them." That's what the call should be. And John Kennedy. John Kennedy was on a local talk show here, KSYL talk back here. He was asked, "What do you think about CCS? What is it? How can you?" Well, that's a local issue. A local issue.
Well,
when did you build a wall between us and DC, Mr. Kennedy?
Let's get to the heart of this here. Chris. The demographics and the voting block within the districts are going to have this carbon pumped underneath them. How many votes does that equate for? Is it enough to sway the votes of a statewide election in Louisiana?
I think it's why I think it is. Even if the people who are directly affected are not a huge percentage of the population, Duke, I think Louisiana citizens are smart enough to be able to look at something and say, you know what? If they can violate their property rights for this purpose, then it's only 1 degree away because of the precedent from them being able to violate my property rights, perhaps for another purpose, for another reason. And that's why I think if this is articulated the right way to the citizens of Louisiana, that private corporations are stealing people's land for their own enrichment, I don't really think it matters whether or not Louisiana voters are directly affected by it, because I think that they will understand the precedent and understand how important it is to stand against it. And that's why I think, but that's a great question. I don't know. Gary would be in a better position to answer the people whose land will be directly affected by this. But I believe the issue in principle is a much broader one than that.
See, I have in the back of my mind, I've had this hypothesis. I have had this hypothesis that the reason that our legislators and different politicos are dismissive of consequence of this thing going here is because in the areas that it's going to affect primarily are not a voting block that can be consequential in a statewide election. That's my hypothesis. And, and that in future elections, places where, the populations that maybe could affect the outcomes of elections, they're going to be indifferent about it. I mean, and I'm not saying that's why one of the reasons that we have focused on CCS. I mean, we have pushed this thing out here trying to make people aware of it and understand the consequences of this. And they need to understand that, a lot of people in Bossier, you're not going to have to worry as it is right now about, carbon being pumped under your feet, but it's with your tax dollars that the port is capturing and trying to pump it down in Vernon Parish. There is a connection there.
Yes.
but the political calculation, I think, is that, you know, there's only going to be a minority of people that are going to be adversely affected in the short term, and that won't hurt anybody, you know, politically, election wise, in the long term. That's just my 2 cents of thinking about it.
I think you're right, and I believe that's the opinion we have here. That's why they hit West Louisiana, rural, poor parishes, low population, large landowners, large timber tracts.
All right,
yeah.
so all right, let's and we'll start wrapping up, or we can go all night. It doesn't matter to me. But let's shift the focus a little bit as to what we can do. Obviously, to get the message further out there to people, because I think if you go ask the average person what they know about carbon sequestration, they're going to be like, "What?"
What?
So I think we've got to figure out, obviously with our podcasts and all that, but we got to figure out a way to better get the message out of there. And two, you start at a grassroots thing. You start, like y'all are already doing, start showing up at the meetings, start videoing the meetings, start audioing the meetings. I mean, it's not like we don't have free platforms to put these guys on notice when they say, pardon the phrase, when they say dumb shit. Put them on notice, put them on blast. Mm-hmm. That's how you get their attention. They don't want to look like fools. I promise you.
Well, think about it. We're just a small little grassroots effort with a few parishes, 5 organizations, Facebook posts. Do you really think the governor took 2.5 hours out of his time to come meet with us because we're not rattling his chains right now?
Right. Oh yeah,
no,
I'm not saying you're not doing it. I'm just saying we got to.
My point is, we have their attention, and they want to stop us where we're at right now, and that's in West Louisiana.
But
right,
you
got to get the people. You got to get the people riled up. You got to get the pitchforks and torches out.
Well, but wait a minute. I'm fixing to summate the problem here, and Gary, I met you tonight. You seem like a wonderful person, and I'm proud of the fact that you are in this fight. And I'm fixing to use you as an example. And please, the next time you see me, you got a free shot. You can just punch me. That's okay. I'll accept it.
I take constructive criticism all day long.
I'm going to use you here. I'm admitting it to God and everybody right here. I'm fixing to use you in front of everybody. But before this, and I may be totally wrong here in what I'm saying, but what have you done politically? This is affecting you, obviously. Where have you been on other issues before this one? Have you been involved? And I'm making that point, and I'm just saying because my problem here is that people don't get involved in things until it directly affects them. I know Chris. I've known his family and him for, good Lord, forever. And they have been at the tip of the spear on trying to fight for limited government, good government, and on behalf. And unfortunately, the majority of our population of people, they don't give a damn about what happens until it directly affects them. Directly.
No, you're right.
And
I'm
that's
guilty.
The problem. This fight was in the legislature last year
5
when
years
Chris was down there taking the spear. He was the one. Anyway, that's my rant. I'm going to shut up now.
No, Duke, you're right.
That's true.
And listen,
that is true, Duke. And
I've learned a lesson from this.
Yeah, we did learn a lesson. And all I can tell you is this, and I think this is a good measure of the effectiveness. These legislators who supported carbon capture sequestration, I'm telling you now that they are feeling the heat in a very, very significant way. And our goal, you talk about what we can do to get things done. We are going to make absolutely certain that every voter in these districts knows exactly what these Republican legislators did. And I would not be surprised if a substantial percentage of them are not reelected. I think most of them are going to be involuntarily retired, number one, because we're going to make sure that happens. And number two, Duke, I agree with you 100% that most people don't care until the water is rushing into their own front door. But I do believe that if we can get the word out to voters that private corporations are taking people's property for their own benefit, when people go vote, that is something that they care about. And that is something that they will say, I don't think that's the right thing for the government to be doing, or for private companies to be doing. And I do think that that will affect how they vote. They may not be out there at the town hall meetings. They may not be, active like a lot of us are, but I guarantee you that'll be something they're thinking about when they go vote.
I agree with that, but again, it goes back to my point. You're perfectly correct, Chris. We've got to educate the average voter, and we're all doing it. Our podcast, certainly your podcast, and all the stuff that you do, Chris and Gary. You're involved in this, now and know about it. We've got to step up the process even more, whatever that is. Number one, like y'all are doing, going to all these meetings, but get video and audio of these meetings wherever possible. I mean, the police jury is required to do the audio. We're going to send a public information request. I'll see if we can get that, unless y'all already have it, and start calling them out. I mean, literally pointing them out, which, Chris, you know as well as anybody that works, but literally pointing them out and what they're trying to do. And you're right, Chris, how they're trying to basically steal private property for private benefit, and then how these legislators are, it seems to me, tied into some of these same companies that are what I would classify as stealing private property. How are they directly tied to these same companies that are doing this? What is the financial gain for the legislators? How were all these legislators so stupid back in 2020 or whenever it was to not read the bill and know what was in it before voting for it? It's a literal Nancy Pelosi moment. How did they know? And we weren't around, and it certainly wasn't on our radar back then. We're aware of it now. And again, Chris, thanks to you and a lot of the other groups. But how were they so stupid as to not really know what they were voting on? I mean, that's their excuse now. I like Danny McCormick, but that's all their excuse now. Well, we just didn't read it. What?
Yeah, that's exact. I talked to Mike Johnson, pro temp speaker. Man, why did you do this? Here's what he told me. He said, lobby and these lobbyists, they come, present the bill. They said it's economic development, it's for oil and gas, and we trusted them. Everybody trusted them, and they voted for it. How do you get 100% of both parties to vote on this? I don't, Chris, you got an answer to that?
I don't think they had any idea what they were doing, first of all. And secondly, I think a lot of them are receiving a lot of money from these companies. I think that a lot of them are being enriched. And they don't want to be on their bad side. They don't want to go against them, is what I believe. But a point you made a minute ago, Duke, about the U.S. Senate race. There is a critical distinction in that race among the candidates. There is only one candidate in that race who has taken a principled position and a vocal and a consistent position against this racket, and that's John Fleming. The rest of them are not speaking out publicly and vocally on this issue. And I think that that's very important that distinction be made. And if John Fleming, he's committed, if he's elected to the U.S. Senate, one of the first things, he's going to do is introduce legislation to statutorily roll this back. I think he is strongly opposed to this.
Yes, he's attended every one of our public meetings, educational forums. Dr. Fleming has been a champion for us.
Yeah, and he certainly called out, I'll say it because, he certainly called out Blake Miguez on the issues, as well as many other legislators on the same issue of, how do you vote for something and not know what's in the bill or what it's really truly about. And as far as Mike Johnson goes, yeah, you don't have to say any more about him. Neither Duke or I are fans of
just
mine.
so you'll know, Rex, you may have picked this up, but when Gary said Speaker Pro Tem Mike Johnson, he was talking about the state legislator.
The state legislator.
Mike Johnson. Okay. Not the speaker of that. There's a state legislator down here from Rapides,
right?
And that's who he was talking about a minute ago. And Mike has been pretty weak on this issue.
Yeah, I should have caught that. I swear this is sweet tea in here.
Not done, Rex. The legislature right now could demand a special session and go into session right now and roll this back if they wanted to. They could do it right now.
All right. Hold on a second.
Well, they could, Chris, but couldn't we end this with Speaker of the House Mike Johnson bringing something to end some subsidization from the federal government?
Amen. Yes, he could.
Yeah, just follow Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin is pushing it through the EPA. He's about to end carbon as a pollutant. I'm just waiting for any day that Lee Zeldin says, okay, carbon is no longer a pollutant. And it's over.
So in summation, I think the best course of action on this for the folks, is that, probably, I hate to say it and I hate to use lawfare, but I think that's to try to delay is the best course of action, because you're not the people wanting to do recalls and all that. I mean, I totally understand that, but
if you give me just allow me to jump in on this. Look, I'm retired Air Force. I am truly Joe Citizen. And Duke, like you said, forgive me, I don't pay attention. This affected me. I saw it. It was going to affect not only me, but the future generations, my grandkids. I jumped in. And now I'm seeing an animal that is very ugly. And so I'm late to the game. But let me say this. Yes, we're moving forward with the lawsuit. Yes, we have hired attorneys, but I can't do this by myself. The guys that's around me, we don't have the funds to do this. It's going to cost $100,000 just to file the lawsuit. And so we created Save My Louisiana as a nonprofit. It's a 501c4 organization, so that we can, I hate to say it, but we need money. I can't do this on my own. So without the people donating to Save My Louisiana, and listen, it's going to be transparent. Chris, it's transparent. You're going to see where every dime goes, but this is only to fight carbon capture and sequestration. When that's over, it's over. This is not going to be a campaign that's going to continue forever. We're going to fight it and we're going to end it, and it's going to be over. But I can't do it out of my pocket. Yeah. Yes, we need help.
I agree 100%. And then we're going to continue and make sure that the people who didn't stand up for us are retired from public office. That's my commitment. That's our commitment.
Well, that's a good commitment. We'll make sure I'll find you on Facebook. Gary, does y'all's organization have a website up or anything yet?
It does.
Or a Facebook page?
Yeah, it's savemylouisiana.org.
Okay, so I'll make sure and put that in the comments here in a little bit. We'll share it out on our Facebook page and all that.
Let me say one last thing, all right? Because, all right, guys, I think I'm hearing from you. I believe we're all believers in Christ, okay? And I hate to have an enemy. I don't want an enemy. I do not want enemies, and especially with the Vernon Parish Police Jury. My desire is to see every one of them a brother in Christ and in heaven. Okay, I don't want to fight these men. But what Jim Tuck said is unacceptable. He needs to apologize to his constituents. He needs to apologize to the people that he said that to. And I'm going to leave it at that. And I pray he does the right thing. And I'm not going to hold anything against the man. I don't know the man, but I know he's getting a lot of heat for this. And
Jim,
that's all I'm going to say.
You said
Tuck.
Jim Tuck, not Jim Guy Tucker. Jim Tuck.
No, James Tuck is the president.
Well, and I'll just say, yeah, my one verse that I really know well in the Bible is John 2:14, where Jesus literally fashioned his own whips and then beat the hell out of the money changers. It's a similar situation here, and none of us are anywhere close to Jesus Christ. But from a religious standpoint, he was not always about peaceful resolutions to things. So I'll just remind everybody of that. That's Rex's sermon for the night.
Well, you're exactly right about that, and let me tell you, he stood down the hypocrites and the Pharisees, and some of the things that he said. Let me tell you what, were not the words of a pacifist.
Bingo. My point exactly. All right. Well, we are now up to speed somewhat on carbon capture in Vernon Parish. And look, Chris, it's always a pleasure to have you as a guest. Always a great conversation. Gary, glad to have you on, and nice to meet you
guys.
Yeah. And anything
And
we
I
can
want to
do
take
to
a
help
minute
you get the
to thank
word
you
out.
guys, Rex and Duke. Y'all may not understand, the impact that you're having on your podcast. As I look at y'all as real whistleblowers, and you raise things that other people won't raise. You're fearless in what you do. And I just think it's important to recognize, the contribution that y'all make to the community and to the body politic. So thanks for both of y'all and all of your efforts.
Takes
Thank
a
you,
team
Chris.
effort. Yep.
Appreciate that.
All right, we're going to get on here now and talk about some politicians. Y'all probably don't want to be a part of that conversation, the things that we're going to say. So I'll go ahead and switch the screens here. All right. God bless y'all.
Take care.
Right. Well, that was definitely interesting.
Unplanned. And hey, you know what? I don't think enough people are focused on the carbon sequestration thing. They don't know. I mean, our port up here in Bossier, that everybody out of Bossier and Caddo, y'all are paying for it. And you need to understand it. If you're paying for it because you're supporting it with taxpayer dollars, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what you're supporting, because whether you like it or not, you're supporting it.
Yeah, I agree. And, that kind of, oddly enough, has turned out to tie in to the very first thing I have on our list that we were going to talk about, which is, are we at a turning point? And really, of course, that was in the context of the whole Charlie Kirk situation. But are we at a turning point here in Louisiana on this carbon capture thing? Again, it's kind of one of those things that's been percolating in the background, and the drumbeat seems to be growing stronger and stronger about this. And like I told Chris, look, I know he's been, at the forefront of all this the whole time, but honestly, the average person has no idea about it. I think that is changing.
No,
and I think we may be at a turning point for this.
Yeah, and the bottom line is here. I can wrap my head around, if people in government have knowledge of issues and things that, because of the knowledge they have is what's in my best interest, I can accept that. But what I'm not going to accept is you telling me, I know what's best for you, shut up and sit down.
Right.
No, you tell me why it's in my best interest. I mean, you serve me. I don't serve you. That's not how this
Bingo.
works. If it's in my best interest, it's your job. You chose to do it. It's your responsibility to explain to me why it's the best course of action for me, or why we need to do this. That's the way that's supposed to work.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And so this is going to be an interesting fight. I mean, I kind of alluded to the whole situation, down there in Colfax. Look, it's kind of similar to the burn chamber ordeal in Minden from, Camp Minden from years ago. Kind of a similar situation to that. And that's why I say it's going to take a grassroots effort, because I know how tough both of those situations were. And this is 1,000 times worse.
Yeah. Hey, so switching gears here and getting moving on into our notes, because we got a lot of good stuff and we got to jump through this. And I hate it because I wanted to I
Well,
really, I felt passionate, and I know a lot of people on this Charlie Kirk stuff. I mean, there's so much of this I want to get into, and I just,
but all
I want to
right.
go there.
Look,
But
let's talk about this for a second because I'm not. I believe in God and Jesus Christ, but I rarely go to church these days, and that's a whole other story. But maybe this is God's way of telling us. Maybe we had both of our guests on because we didn't need to rail too much on the Charlie Kirk stuff tonight. I
oh
mean,
hell
I
no!
want to do it.
Oh hell no! If this is going to be a midnight show, we're doing a midnight show. We're going there.
Then let's do it.
No way.
I always say if God puts the neon sign in front of you, don't miss the exit sign or don't miss the sign, but we'll ignore it. Let's go.
Yeah, no, I don't care. No holding back here, baby.
All right.
So I just dropped a complete folder into our notes or into
Oh,
the
Lord.
folder here. In fact, it'll be called it's
It looks like
Untitled
you dropped
Folder.
half the Bible in the notes here.
Yeah, I did that as well too in the notes, but in the folder with our cuts, I want you to start and just open that folder up and start scrolling through these things because and before you start putting it up there, you see it?
Yeah, I got to get it all downloaded first.
Oh, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's going to take a minute to synchronize. All right, well, look. So, where do we want to start? I mean, obviously, the most recent thing is, and I'm giving this a second to download. So, the most recent thing is, in the Charlie Kirk saga and drama, is the Jimmy Kimmel thing. Do we want to
See,
talk about that and work our way back? Or
Jimmy Kimmel has always been an idiot.
no.
I ain't
No.
never liked that freaking dude.
I am going to disagree with you there, and I am going to show you why. So,
Okay.
one of the greatest Trump things I have ever seen was on Jimmy Kimmel's show in 2015. We're going to do a time.
By all means, impress me because I am totally unimpressed with Jimmy Kimmel. The dude does nothing for me.
Okay,
Never
so
has.
this is December of
Talk
2015.
about how much money you have, but how much money do you have?
So, well, a lot of people thought that
Before
maybe
Trump was
I wouldn't be
president,
as rich or
2015.
something, and I'd never file my papers. 'Cause
Right.
when you run for president, I mean, you're really doing the big exposure.
Most
right?
people try to downplay how much money they
well,
have.
I don't downplay it, but I filed.
Yeah.
And everyone said because they thought I'd never run because I'd never filed because maybe he's not as rich as they think. So I filed, and the numbers are much bigger than anybody.
Yeah, you're
ever
very,
and
very
it's,
rich.
It's also, you know what? It's turned out to be it's a
Getting
great
to the good
company. I have
part.
great
You'll
assets,
love
I have
this and
great-
How
appreciate
many
this,
books have
Mr.
you
Lauer.
written?
About 12 and
12 books.
bestsellers.
Never a children's book, though, right?
Oh, I want to do that.
Okay. Because I would like to make $1 trillion or whatever it is
Okay.
that you have also. So I've ghostwritten a book that I put your name on, okay? And it's called Winners Aren't Losers.
This is the greatest thing ever.
May I read it to you?
Yes, I like it. I like it.
All right, Winners Aren't Losers by Donald J. Trump. Winners aren't losers, they're winners, like me. A loser's a loser. Which one will you be? Good. Winners do deals and winners get rich, while sad little losers just sit there and bitch.
Could be a big seller.
My daughter loves it.
Good.
The dog is a loser, and frankly, I pity it. This dog did bad deals. This dog is an idiot. And poor Mr. Bear, he must feel like a loser, valeting that 2006 PT Cruiser. This lobster's a loser. Throw him in the pot. I like a lobster who doesn't get caught. Those losers are failures who get nothing done. Just do what I do and you'll be number one. Now, here are some frogs I do not like at all. We must kick these frogs out and then build a wall. Oh, the places you'll go on your yacht, on your plane, with your suits from Milan and your wives from Ukraine. Oh, the buildings you'll build, oh, the wealth you'll amass, oh, the people around you all kissing your ass. There are two kinds of people. Which one will you be? A loser like them? Would you like to finish? Or a winner?
Like me.
Donald Trump, everybody. Thanks for coming. We'll be right back with music from Gary Clark Jr.
Now, I showed you that, and to show everybody and remind everybody, because I love that video. It's literally one of the things that caused me to really, really get behind Trump. And I say it sounds crazy, but I was like, that's great. All right. It's to point out the hypocrisy of the left. I don't know what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, because he used to be funny. He is funny sometimes. But I don't know what happened to him to go so far left, because it wasn't just the comments that he made about the Charlie Kirk killer and everybody on the right, essentially. It's that he does that consistently all the time. It's not that he makes jokes about the president, whether it's Trump or Biden or whatever. It's that, I mean, he does it during his monologue, not as a joke. So, he went from that video, that skit, which was great, to the point where he is now, which is canceled by his boss at ABC. Bob Iger, that Disney guy.
I'm unmoved. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, maybe you
I'm
will
sorry.
prefer this one.
I'm sorry. I mean, adios.
All right. Well,
Hit the road, Jack.
maybe you will appreciate this clip. We just saw this. Jimmy Kimmel just released this one on YouTube.
Look at him, fellas. You crying more? We're gonna go back down to McDonald's and get you a hamburger and some french fries. You little sissy boy!
Was that Kid Rock?
No, it's Joe Dirt. Joe Dirt.
No, I know that's Joe Dirt, but if you back up just a little bit, it looked like Kid Rock was one of the people.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So I don't even know where we need to start. Yeah, we got lots of notes.
Okay.
I've had my fun with Jimmy Kimmel. Your turn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just Jimmy, I didn't play along with you, and I truly apologize that. But I mean, Jimmy Kimmel just is a nothing burger for me. Never has been. I just can't even go there. That doesn't even
look. Some people don't watch, a lot of Hollywood because they gripe about this Hollywood actor or that one in their politics. Look, I could never watch another Rambo movie, which, those movies and Rocky movies were defining points in my childhood, if I agreed 100% with Sylvester Stallone's politics, because he is not the most pro-gun person in the world, oddly enough. So, I hate that Charlie Kirk had to get murdered to be one of the, to pardon the pun, the major turning points in our country, most recently politically and in a long, long time. And it may end up being not just a turning point, it may be a tipping point.
Well, and I totally agree. And that's why tonight I don't want to talk about, really politicians, and I don't really want to talk about, entertainers, and that's not really
all
on
posturing
my
and
radar.
grandstanding. Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm wanting to talk about primarily is people, regular people. And there's regular people because the majority of all of this is driven by regular people. And I think, that file I dropped in there, let's start off with that. We'll drop through the notes and, I think the Benton Town workshop stuff, we got a little bit of content on that. Let's catch that next week.
Yeah, we can do that. Because I'm going to post that whole meeting video. That'll give people time to digest it. And we'll talk about some of that Tuesday. All right, so give me a second here and let me switch screens.
Yeah, I'm going to talk. So, my Sunday, kind of after this, I mean, we all have been kind of on edge, whether you hate Charlie Kirk or you like him or whatever. Everybody has been just uptight. And so my Sunday, I've been uptight about it. And I ain't making no apologies for where I stand. I don't care if you're against us or you're against me or you're against Charlie Kirk. I don't care what you think. I mean, I don't. This is me. I'm real. I'm live. I'm right here. But my Sunday starts off, and I had plans Sunday. My plans were that I was going to get up and I was going to go to church. I mean, because I really wanted that. I needed it because I
Right.
got to tell you, man, I tell you, I got some things going on in my head thinking about all of this, and I'm mad. I'm freaking mad, and I'm still mad, and it ain't subsided. But I'm planning on going to church, and first thing out of the gate, as soon as I wake up, my phone's blown up. And my phone's blowed up, and somebody's saying to me, they're saying, why the hell has the Bossier Parish Police Jury or the courthouse, why are they not flying the flags at half staff? Because as you know, Donald Trump ordered, all the flags to half staff till Sunday
Right.
night at dark.
Right.
And I get a picture. I get a freaking picture of the
Right.
flag at full staff. It's not at half staff. And so then I'm even madder, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Ezekiel 33. I need to that's my cue. I got a job to do. My job is I need to go sound the horn, right? So what do I spend my day doing? I spend my day going
Being a
around
photographer.
being a photographer and checking government buildings all around, right?
Well,
Well, guess
all right.
what I find when I get to the courthouse?
Well, I have a picture of it, so let's put it up on the screen right now. Okay, so that is what day was this?
This was Sunday morning, bright and early.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because you sent me a text message. So that is the real-time picture of Sunday morning, right?
That's right. So you know
Okay.
what? The alarm that was raised to me by the person, well, they took the picture off of like Google Maps.
Well, let's have a little tech lesson real quick. We won't call the person out, but let's have a little tech lesson real quick for the folks watching. Google Maps, when you go to Street View or you go to Sat View, any of the mapping services are not real time, people. They're not real time. If Duke walks up to the courthouse and stands in front of that flagpole right now or in the morning, you can't go to Google Maps and see him or the Google satellite deal unless coincidentally the satellite just happened to be flying over at the time he did that and took a picture, but they're not real time. Now, these pictures were real time as of Sunday morning, correct?
That's absolutely correct. So you know what? I was aggravated, but I said, you know what? It's a legitimate thing to go and see,
Sure.
where everybody's at. So the police jury, the courthouse, they got theirs right. So we'll just go through the pictures one at a time.
Yeah,
Go to the next one, and I'll try to name them as we go.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start randomly bringing them up here.
There's the post office in Benton. They got theirs. They're respecting the president's orders.
All right, let's see. Hold on.
City Hall of Benton, Town of Benton, they're respecting it.
All right.
Benton Fire District.
Yeah.
How about Bossier Parish EMS and Benton Fire District 4? They're respecting it.
Yeah.
Benton Elementary.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So let's keep dragging a few more in here.
Now, do you know where that's at, Rex? That don't look familiar.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture. Is that the Cypress District?
That is the Cypress District. And interestingly, when I got out of the truck, there was a gentleman who obviously works there. And I was stepping out to take a picture, and he was kind of standing there, and he was somewhat kind of like wanting to apologize, and he'll fix it. And he really didn't know. He was just kind of he didn't want any problems. And I told him, I said, don't apologize. You've got no reason to apologize. You've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And on the contrary, you've done what was right. So interesting story there.
Yeah, so let's go on. All right, that I recognize is over there around Caddo Parish.
Downtown Shreveport. After I made a few rounds in Bossier, I was like, okay, well, I'm not really having any luck. Went downtown Shreveport, and they got them at half staff.
All right. And this still looks like downtown. Uh-oh, that doesn't look like half flag.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Now this is the Caddo or the Shreveport Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, the Shreveport Chamber of Commerce, they're not recognizing the orders of the president. So,
well, but let me ask this question. This is a serious question. I mean, I know and remember some of the ways that you treat the flag from being in Boy Scouts and all that. But what is the protocol for when the president issues a proclamation? The flags would be lowered to half staff, or the governor does it because the governor has the power to do that under state law. What is the protocol to make sure that everybody gets the message? Does anybody know?
I don't know about the protocol for that, but what I do know is when they order it done, it's supposed to be done.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not cutting them any slack. I just legitimately do not know what the logistics are on that. How they make sure that everybody gets the message. All right. This looks like near the federal building downtown.
Yeah, it's right there by the federal building. That's more of a Caddo Parish, Shreveport city government. I can't remember. That may be the Second Circuit Court of Appeals right there.
Yeah.
And then you got the Caddo Parish Courthouse. They were recognizing it as they were supposed to.
All right, let's see what we got here.
Now, there's a reason I took that picture right there. I want you to zoom in real close in the left corner of that white thing right there. And what does that say in that white corner right there?
The top corner, Bossier Utilities, Wagner.
Wagner. Who the heck is Wagner? Bossier
That name is
Bossier.
familiar. Is that the company formerly known as Manchac?
It's kind of like Milli Vanilli, right? Formerly known as Manchac. Well, I wonder what their flag was like at the water department.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Can you guess?
Well,
does Wagner recognize the president of the United States, or do they take a different tack?
Oh. Is that
Shazam?
That's the same flag.
That is on the property there of the city of Bossier, and Wagner sign right there at the beginning. Obviously, they don't recognize the president's orders of the United States, apparently.
Well, or they didn't get the memo. One of the two, either way, they didn't get it.
Maybe it's in their contract that they only have to abide by the mayor of Bossier City. So I don't know.
Well, hey, look, Bossier City, they got the flags all at half staff there.
But in all fairness to Bossier City, they just had the 9/11 memorial,
yeah.
I think, on that Friday. So, it wasn't like it would have been zero excuses for not having the flag right.
Right, correct. And there's the other flags on the other side of the building. And let's do one more picture. Looks like one of the schools. What is that? Benton Middle School, maybe?
Benton Middle School, but you need to go through some more because there was some problems in South Bossier. Now North Bossier, I mean, all the schools seem to be in compliance. In fact, just scroll through them fast. In fact, even the school board office, they had their flags and had them at half mast. We haven't got to that picture yet.
Well, hold on. I'm randomly trying to grab them here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's First Guarantee Bank is doing it.
Yeah. We grabbed them.
All right, let's see, and we'll get to Sun City and all that here in a second. Let's see. Hold on. All right, there's Legacy Elementary. Looks like they're in compliance. Let's see what else here. Bossier Parish EMS. There.
Yeah.
All right.
Swan Lake Road.
It's taking me a second to drag these in. Bear with me. What is that?
Fire station.
Fire station. Road. Yep. Okay.
They have theirs lowered.
All right. So let me get rid of those pictures, and then we'll go to some of the others that look like they might be from Sobo and what you're referring to, or wherever they are. Let's see. All right. There we go. Fire.
South Bossier EMS and fire. They got theirs. They're in compliance. Good job, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Another fire station. Oh, it looks like pretty much all the firehouses are doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, well, no, not
Uh-oh.
so fast, Dano.
Uh-oh.
Up
Wait.
Parkway High School.
Well, they don't have
So,
any flag at all.
yeah, isn't that interesting? Parkway High School, they just said to hell with it. We just won't have a flag up at all. Or maybe, they're high achievers that they take it down because they can't maintain it. But there was an order to fly the flag and to fly it at half mast.
All right, here we go.
I think that is one of the elementary schools down there in Sobo. They got theirs at half mast.
Yeah.
You got let's see, isn't that that's not the Catholic church down there off of Barksdale Boulevard. I think they got theirs at half mast. Good job.
Whoops, hold on. Gotta make my mouse cooperate here. Uh-oh.
No
Is that Elm
flag.
Grove?
I think that is another one of those Sobo ones. Just said to hell with it. We're just not even going to show any flag whatsoever.
All right. Fire station in compliance.
Shady Grove Fire Station. There you go. They got theirs. They're good job, guys.
Shady Grove Community Center.
Flying it tall to the top. For some reason, Shady Grove Rec Center there, they decided they're not going to respect it, and they didn't do it.
Is that the same? Which rec center did we go to for that town hall meeting?
That would be it right there.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So I don't know what's up with that, but who knows? Elm Grove, no flag at all.
No flag at all, except the painted flag on the building, I guess, is kind of halfway up the flagpole, but that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
Let's see. Got the church there. They're in compliance.
Bel Air Baptist, they're on the stick.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Oh, fire station. I think that's number 9 at River Bend there. Apparently, the fire station number 9 in Bossier City is not having any of it.
Uh-oh. You're going to have to call some of your old fire station buddies there, Mr. Lowry. Tell them to keep on the stick.
It's interesting you say that, because I did call some of my old firefighting buddies to address the firemen in New Orleans who were having comments that were unbecoming of a public servant in my mind. And I didn't actually get a positive response from my fireman buddies about taking action to hold firemen accountable. In principle, they supported what I called them about, but did they really want to take any action? No, they didn't want to do anything. And I can't tell you how much that breaks my heart, but I can't tell you a lie. It was like they were indifferent about it, and it's embarrassing to me. It really is.
All right, Rusty Maddox says schools usually take flags in for the weekends. Our friend Miss Cassie Casario Rogers says there's not a flag up because it's not a business day. There's not a light at the base of the flagpole, which is required to fly it at night. It is only required to be at half mast. If it is up, it's not required to be up.
Well, I want to ask Cassie. Cassie, at the Parkway game, did they get the flag at half mast, or was some people criticizing those young men and folks down there prematurely? I'm just curious. Maybe you can enlighten us on that. There's another flag. No flag at all, right?
Yeah. All right. So I think that's all of them in that particular folder, I think. Let me make sure here. Yeah, that's all of them. I think there was one more from Benton Intermediate. Let me show that one, that they did have their flag being displayed correctly. Okay.
Yeah. So on that note, the people that may or may not have had a flag, Cassie may be right. She may be, and it goes to the point of maybe there's a legitimate reason why the flag wasn't up, and maybe it was premature to premature to right there to comment and criticize, and we reserve the right in showing these that they didn't have a flag. Maybe they didn't know. We're not saying they did. We're not saying they did anything wrong, but what we are saying is showing what the outcome was. Some people didn't even have a flag at all. Some people had the flag at full mast, had no or maybe they had an idea. But
well, the presidential order was was it 6:30 p.m. Sunday evening? Is that correct?
Till dark
Or till
Sunday
dark?
evening.
Yeah, till dark
Till
Sunday
dark
evening. Okay.
Sunday evening.
And like I said, if anybody in the comments knows what is the, protocol, how do businesses, government buildings, churches, schools, etc., which would be a local government building anyway, what is the protocol for making sure they get the message? Does anybody know? Just wondering.
And the point is you don't use a circumstance like this to score any political points, whether you have a problem with somebody or not. I mean, that's why we went to the federal court, Second Circuit. We went to the Benton courthouse. We went to multiple schools. We went to multiple fire stations. We even got pictures of churches and a couple of banks and different things. And there were others. There were a lot of others. Where I saw the most flags that weren't pulled at half mast. You know where that was, Rex? Because I saw a lot of them, and we didn't show them. It was at private. It was at private residences at people's homes.
Yeah, because they probably hadn't heard. I don't know how you couldn't hear in this world of social media and the information age, but
well, maybe they hadn't heard. But what I would say is that if you're going to fly a flag, at least, own the responsibility of
knowing the protocol and the rules.
Knowing the protocol and following the rules. I mean, if you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah.
So
and I want to point out, so Cassie did say she was wrong, that the full mast was wrong. And I do want to point out, in case people are wondering, the difference in full mast versus full staff, or half mast and half staff. Half mast generally refers to stuff on ships. Half staff would be the land-based flags, but they kind of are used interchangeably. So,
yeah. So, we all had a wild ride here not long ago, and within the last week or so, and if you want to clear all them out, and when you're ready, we'll start at where your cursor is. And we started out here not long ago with the girl on the train, Irina Zaruski, this poor young lady.
Yeah.
Irina Zaruski. We started out, this young lady, she came here, as I understand it, from Ukraine. And, we know how all not just the liberals. I mean, there's a lot of Republicans that have a position on the Ukraine-Russian war thing. And I'm not wanting to get all of that, because that detracts from the point of this here. But this young lady, for whatever reason, she was here. She was literally working in a pizza parlor, and she was taking the public transportation home, and she was working to buy a car and to get a driver's license. And, as she got on the bus, as many of you know, suddenly, she never saw it coming, she has a knife stabbed in the side of her neck. And unfortunately, just like the Charlie Kirk thing, I watched both videos, and I watched this young lady as the life faded away from her. And I personally have seen it as a paramedic and as a fireman. I've brought people into this world, and I've also held people's hands as they faded away, just like she did, as they went on in life, several times. And to me, watching her fade away and slouch in her seat after being stabbed in the neck and fall to the floor. You know, I mean, when I had people in the back of my ambulance that were in this position, you know, I knew what was happening. I held their hands, you know, and the last memories they had was that was empathy and somebody cared about them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This young lady right here fell down in this seat, slumped to the floor, and died. And her last feelings and memories of this world is loneliness, fear, and I can't tell you how much that
Well,
there's something I can't even describe how that makes me feel.
here's the real
It's not even human.
here's the real problem that I have with it was there were 5 or 6 at least other people on this train, and none of them did anything. Now, it happened fast. I've seen the video too. It doesn't take long. You think, well, it must have taken a little while to stab somebody that long. No, I hate to say it. It really doesn't. And so, you know, it's kind of I hate to use this expression, but the deer in the headlights effect where this happens and you don't literally, your brain may not have time to process it because it was unexpected. Like this person got up and just pretty much started stabbing her right away. I mean, it was just within seconds. So, but the problem is they continued to just stand there. And like you just said, she faded away with this monster standing over her or whatever. And nobody was really doing anything. I mean, at that point, honestly, but they did nothing.
Well,
Zero, zilch.
that is exactly right. And you know, there's plenty of people that made excuses as to why they did nothing, why they just sat there, and that they didn't know what had happened. I mean, they're blind, they're sitting there, they got no clue. But I specifically I want to I want to address because I made a post and I posted I wanted to make sure after Charlie Kirk, I want to make sure that nobody forgot this lady. And immediately I was accused of fomenting racism or
Imagine that.
trying to foment violence. And the next cut specifically, there's one comment that I want to address, and I want to pose a question.
All right. Would
When
that be
you
the Craig Lee or the Chuck
no
Metzler?
the Chris Chandler cut.
The Chris Chandler. Okay, because I don't necessarily have it sorting by alphabetical order, but let me get the Chris Chandler cut up, and here we go.
Yeah. So I'm choosing to ignore the reality of this man's schizophrenia. Instead, you are becoming part of the problem in America of flaming racial hatred. I say this with respect, but we all can and should do better. So I don't believe Chris. I think he believes what he's saying. I don't think Chris, I know Chris. Chris is a good guy. And I don't think Chris is, you know, and I believe him when he says he's saying it with respect. And, you know, I think everybody can do better. I agree with that and should do better. I do agree with that. But ignoring the reality of the man's schizophrenia. So let's talk about that a little bit. And that instead I'm becoming part of the problem, flaming racial hatred.
Well, hold
I'm
on a
doing
minute.
I'm doing that.
Did you
I'm
put on your
flaming
Klan
racial
robe?
hatred.
Did you put on your Klan robe? And were you out there marching, or what exactly did you do? And I say that in jest. You don't really have a Klan robe.
I'm just reminding people to remember about this young lady who was savagely stabbed in the neck, faded away by herself, lonely, scared, confused, and I'm the
And
racial
well,
I'm
but
the
hold on a
racial
second.
person.
It doesn't matter whether it was a black guy a white guy, a yellow guy, a Hispanic guy, a purple guy, whatever. These days they're all rainbow colored. Was that your point? I mean, what was the point? The girl got stabbed. It doesn't really matter who did it, except what was their mindset and what caused them to do something like this. There's nothing that can excuse it.
Well, that is the point. After he was finished, slaughtering her like a freaking cow or an animal, he made two comments. He made two comments immediately after. He said, I got that white girl. I got that white girl. That's what he said. So, but yet somehow I'm flaming racial hatred because I'm pointing out this incident. And interestingly, if he has a mental illness and the reason for his actions are from schizophrenia or what have you, I want to beg the question. There were 3 other people in proximity. Why were none of them stabbed? Why did he not attack them?
Look, I'm not certainly not. I'm not going to defend the guy either and his actions, which are just, I don't understand his actions at all. Why he targeted? I mean, there can be no reason for what he did at all. She wasn't a threat to him, nor his safety, nor anyone in his immediate surroundings. Therefore, he had zero reason to kill her or anybody. Doesn't matter if it's male or female standing there. All right. So aside from that, though, the guy's obviously crazy because he jumped up and started stabbing the girl.
No. See, there you go, right there too. You are enabling the same as Chris Chandler. No, he's not crazy. He absolutely knew what he was doing. He stated twice, I got that white girl, I got that white girl. And if he was crazy, why did he not stab the 3 other black people sitting right there? He only stabbed one person. And to say that he did it because he's crazy is bullshit.
No. You're
straight up, and I'm not advocating.
You're misconstruing the point that I'm driving at. So let me clarify, because I'm not Chris Chandler.
Okay.
I'm saying anybody does that is, excuse the language, ladies, fucking crazy. All right? I didn't say I excuse that person because he's crazy. I, as a matter of fact, said the exact opposite of that. So we're not going to play this misconstrue Rex's words. And I understand you're doing that to drive a point home. I understand.
You said crazy, and you didn't clarify the meaning you were saying crazy. So if you're jumping on the crazy train with Chris Chandler to say that it's excusable because he's part of society that's crazy.
I literally just said before that there is no excuse. I said it before I said he was crazy. I can go back and play it. Now, what I want to get at is anybody that would jump up and just start stabbing someone for zero defensive reason is absolutely crazy. Now, whether they're schizophrenic or not, I don't know.
They are.
But there's zero excuse for doing that, short of defense, which was not the case.
And my comments in pointing this out is not to say that only one race of people can be racist. I'm not pointing this out because it's not like there can't be a white person that would stand up and the roles were reversed, stab a black person. That's not my point. My point is to say people that are making excuses for a person like this, the freaking criminals know all you've got to do is just say, well, I'm affected by schizophrenia or whatever. When people go to jail, they'll say, well, I'm hearing things, just so they can freaking get out of the jail to get a bus ride, go to LSU
I agree,
to get an assessment, just so they can see the freaking sunlight. And then they've got it in their record that they're quote unquote crazy, they use that crap. So
Was Charlie Manson crazy?
I would say he was.
You realize Charlie Manson never actually killed anybody.
I don't know.
Charlie Manson literally never physically caused the death of anybody. Never touched a soul. He ordered all of his children or whatever to do all of that. That's the irony of Charlie Manson. And yeah, Charlie Manson is batshit crazy. But my point is, I don't care whether the guy's pink or purple, and I know you don't either. What caused the guy? I mean, what do the cops know anything yet? Why the hell did he jump up and just start stabbing this woman? Normal people don't do that.
I believe him at his word. He said, I got that white girl, I got that white girl. And if he's freaking batshit crazy, why did he not stab the 3 black people standing right beside him?
Because batshit crazy people do crazy stuff.
He could have had the trifecta. He could have said, I got the white girl, I got the black girl, and I got the black man. I got them all.
I'm not saying let him off because he's crazy. I'm just saying for him to jump up and target one person, and I do have experience with crazy people. I'm sure you, obviously, as a paramedic and fireman, do as well. But they do weird things, and people will lash out for unexplainable reasons to people. That's my point. I'm not excusing the guy at all. But I'm just trying to get a handle on what the hell caused him to do that. And nobody may ever know.
Well, it's obviously because people like me are racist. It's obviously because people like me are racist, and we would point out the hypocrisy that the only person he stabs is the white girl, and he says twice, I got the white girl, I got the white girl. And that's got to be the reason. But wait, you know what? That's not the only hypocrisy that's been going on. Go to the next cut.
There is more. See, folks, y'all had no idea. There's only about 35, 40 people watching. Y'all had no idea that we were going to go down this rabbit hole tonight. All right, which one do you want to go to next?
Craig Lee.
Okay, so let me switch around.
And so while I'm a racist for pointing out the hypocrisy in the event in Shreveport, you got this guy named Craig Lee. Now, of course, this is not racist, and he's talking about the Charlie Kirk. I shed no tears for the karma that visits the doorstep of any white supremacist, racist, advocate, lobbyist, whether they are melanin deficient or melanated. Melanin deficient or melanated. Well, the melanin deficient white supremacist racist ancestors of Charlie Kirk threw parties as they lynched my African descendants ancestors. I mean, I don't sense a stench of racism here. Do you?
Oh, gee, not at all. I mean, he goes on to say karma is real and history will always be one of my greatest teachers. Then you need to learn your actual history, Mr. Lee, and not saying that none of that happened to potentially some of your ancestors, but that was 150, 200 years ago. Number one, didn't happen directly to you, and unless they're coming back from the grave and visiting you, it has no direct effect on you. I would go back to one of Charlie Kirk's, famous lines, which I have said for years and years and years, which is, name me one law in this country, even locally, because they've pretty much all been purged out decades ago. Name one law that holds anybody back. Oh, and don't forget your history, that the Africans actually sold the slaves, sold their brethren to the English and all the other countries that bought the slaves and sent them over here. And no, I don't agree with slavery at all. So, hopefully nobody will take this out of context. But I'm just saying, if you're gonna talk about history and you're gonna post about history, know your damn history, the whole history.
Yeah, but I mean, speaking of violence and all that kind of stuff, and of course, I'm flaming racial violence. I mean, let's go to the next cut. I mean, you got this is in our community, folks.
All right, which one is this? Is this
Mama Bears? Mama
bears.
bears.
Okay, hold on.
All right, Rex, you read this. You hadn't seen this before, so you read this and you tell me your interpretation right here.
Okay, so Charlie gone now. We waiting on a mama bear. Huh. And that's here locally?
Caddo Parish,
over there where they have that radio show?
Yeah, that's right. The Mama Bears was that group that was calling out during the sheriff's race over there, and this Johnston Constidius, Emporium MJ, and Craig Lee, and all them were big on the sheriff over there and helping getting the sheriff elected. And you got this guy saying Charlie gone now. We're waiting on the Mama Bear. What's he trying to say right there?
Huh. I mean, without full context, I can only say this at first glance. Well, if you equate what happened to Charlie Kirk and now waiting on, the way I read it, the same thing to happen to a mama bear.
I mean, is the sheriff going to draw that same conclusion? I would be willing to bet my wallet no way in hell he's going to do that. And why would he do that? Why would he not draw that conclusion? I don't know. Maybe it's because it's okay against a bunch of white melanin deficient racists. Maybe that's the conclusion. I don't know. So, moving on, interestingly, the left, it's like it's almost as if there's a playbook somewhere out there. There's a playbook that says to leftists to automatically, when something like this happens, you accuse, conservatives, right wing, or MAGA. It's their fault. It's one of them. They're the ones. They're the people.
Yeah, hence Jimmy Kimmel.
And in fact, for years, someone in my posts has always come forward and done exactly that, and this time was no different. In fact, if you go to Chuck Metz's cut, the first one there, he does exactly that right out of the gate.
All right. He says, hey, Mr. Michael Duke Lowry. Oh, my. Let's look at Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk's alleged killer stats. He's white. He's Christian. Dad is a cop. Scholarship student. Gun-loving family. Republican family. Lives in Utah. Dressed up as Trump on Halloween in 2017. Now let's watch MAGA contort itself to turn this kid into a gay, trans, DEI-loving, pro-abortion, liberal soy boy. I didn't know that Chuck was such a soothsayer.
I mean,
because that's exactly how it's turned out. He is not incorrect about that.
Absolutely.
Except the right didn't have to contort itself to figure this out. It's literally what the kid was.
He went to college and he got turned into a boy lover. And
even NBC is reporting this information, that's what he was. Chuck Metz is not incorrect.
But the point of the matter is he was alleging that this guy was MAGA, and he did it for some purpose regarding MAGA. He wasn't doing it that. In fact, there's a conspiracy, and he was doing it because of the trans activists and Antifa. I mean, but has Chuck came back and acknowledged and said, you know what, I was wrong. It wasn't a MAGA person. It's actually Antifa and our leftists.
But you're missing the point. See, Chuck just needs a PR person like me to be able to spin this stuff for him. And if those of you watching haven't figured it out, I'm being a smartass here. Because the easy comeback was, hey, I was right. MAGA was correct.
Well, interesting. The next cut. I mean, he did get called out. In fact, I called him out specifically because he wasn't letting up. He was still standing by his post of that it was MAGA.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know it's a little small and kind of hard for everybody to read, and I can't blow it up too big. But the basic premise of that cartoon is that the kid was real right wing and all that, which, as we know now, based on the evidence, not true, including his own family and friends have said, which his own family and friends apparently were pretty right leaning, at least his family was and all that, but he was like the outlier and all of that. This kid, according to all the sources now, was very far to the left. Had whatever tripped his trigger several years ago, in case you haven't known, for those of you that hadn't paid attention.
So the point I'm making with all of this with folks and to show y'all is that a lot of these left-wing radicals like Chuck Metz, he has been one and has been one forever. I think he is a participant in Antifa stuff, which is now a terrorist organization, by the way. But he later comes back in one of his other comments and he starts trying to walk it back and moderate it a little bit, and to the point of saying nobody knows why or the beliefs, while calling, and in the context of that, calling Jeff Gray, somebody else who posted in my comments, he's calling him a Nazi while he's basically doing it. But my point is these people on the left, they immediately know to start calling and framing things, that to their benefit right out of the gate.
Yeah,
they
look,
start doing that.
Look, I'm going to do the counterpoint for a second. And so bear with me, everybody. Both sides do that. I mean, we've all called Obama the Antichrist or whatever. Pick your term. So both sides do this. But the key difference is the left side claims to not be violent, but they end up being the most violent. Here's an interesting thing for you. Wait. Let me finish this. Here's some hypocrisy. Then you can counterpoint me. Has anybody heard a big anti-gun movement since the Charlie Kirk massacre, shooting, murder? You always hear that. Oh, we got to get rid of the guns. We got to get rid of the guns. Has anybody heard a left-leaning push to ban, what do you use, 30-06? To ban 30-06s?
I did see a post from one of those liberals, leftists. They were trying to spin the narrative, but it's too far gone. They can't even get any traction on that.
I mean, since the kid ends up being a leftist, trans-loving, liking, whatever his deal is, whatever all that is, and he used a gun, used a rifle, bolt action, to murder one of the stars of conservatism as we define it and Christianity. Are they going to have to start supporting guns now? Because they're supporting a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are cheering on at least the murder of Charlie Kirk, or seem to be. Are they going to start cheering on 30-06s now?
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, but look, the left, they've went out trying to contort everything, and just like they initially started, alleging that this guy was the MAGA, they said, well, just like that representative or senator from Michigan or wherever up there, Melissa Hortman, and I have a link in the comments. I can't articulate best on that subject, except that for the person in this link, that they articulated the circumstance regarding this best. And I think we should play that video and let's let everybody listen to it. Let's listen to what was actually the circumstances regarding that. Yeah, the guy may have been registered Republicans, but Antifa and those people, they know and they pre-plan to go register and take the action of whatever it is they need to do to be able to enable the media to say that it was a conservative or Republican or left wing. They planned that. January 6th, there were identified Antifa and BLM people wearing MAGA hats. They went there with the intent to incite stuff so that it would cause conservative
and help gin up the crowd.
Yeah, and cause the media to be able to blame MAGA.
And not just that, and let me know when you're ready to play this video. But not just that. The narrative has been people died on January 6th. There is only one person that died on January 6th. That was Ashley Babbitt, a former, I think, if I remember correctly, she was former Navy. And she was shot, I think it was by one of Pelosi's security guards. That's the only person that died on January the 6th.
There was
Don't forget
another.
that.
There was another female that died downstairs. Boyles or Boys, I can't remember her name, but she did die. There was
one person that had a heart attack or something.
Correct. Well, there was a security guard that had a heart attack, and they said
but that was later on, way later.
Yeah,
he didn't die.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
I think her name was Boys or Boyles or something or another. But let's listen to this cat right here talk about this case. Again, they blame MAGA for this, but listen to this guy, because everything he's saying is 100% true.
So in the last couple of days, I've gotten a few DMs from some wokety woke folk on the left, and they have said the exact same thing. What they've said is this: why is it that when one of your own is executed, you care? But when it is not one of your own, or a leftist, a Democrat, you don't seem to care? Why is it that when a leftist is the one doing the assassinating, you care, and when it is one of your own doing the assassinating, you don't care? And they're alluding to this case right here of Melissa Hortman and her husband, who were both assassinated in their home by a man pretending to be a police officer who showed up at their door. Now, here's the thing about that case. I don't know if y'all noticed, but the case didn't stay in the media for much longer than once they actually figured out who did it. Because it turns out that the man who did it was actually employed by Minnesota's government, appointed, or at least twice appointed, by Tim Walz. Appointed by the governor before Tim Walz, and then by Tim Walz himself. That is on record. So this is one of his guys. Also, Melissa seems to have been targeted not too long after she had voted in opposition to the Democratic Party on a very specific policy about health care for illegal immigrants. See, that's why we don't make this comparison. Because if we really wanted to bring this case up, then it points right back to the very same place. See how that works?
Interesting.
So you don't hear the leftists saying that. What they say is the guy was registered Republican and he was MAGA, period. And not enough people on the right are informed. They don't know the details of it because they haven't put those details out there. I mean, that lady was ridiculed because she disagreed with using public, resources to pay for illegal immigrants, and she voted against her party on principle, and then she was assassinated by this person. But yet it's leftists. Oh, it was some MAGA person. No,
well,
that's not true at all.
Again, it's context, full context, and knowing the full story. And I don't want this to sound like a cop-out. Both sides of the spectrum are guilty of doing this. I would say here, and we were discussing this earlier today, I would say here on Bossier Watch, we're very biased. We say what we want for the most part and all that, but at least we try to use the politicians' words against them and give the context. And this is where that came from. Here's the full meeting if you want to go see it. We may make fun of them, hence the exceedingly unfortunate video with Richard Ray, but you go watch the full meeting and see exactly what he said. So my point is that, again, context, whether you're right or left, no matter what the issue is, context matters. And a lot of Charlie Kirk's criticisms from the left or from black folks or whatever are because they have only heard snippets, manipulated content, and not heard the full context of what he said. Most of the time, the man was exceedingly difficult to argue with, based on the full context if you looked at it from a biblical perspective as well as a political perspective. So, all right, next.
Yeah. So
I can get on my soapbox about this business all night.
well, the next thing is that, look, he's Charlie Kirk was a racist. He had it coming. He was a racist. And they hang their hat on this video. I sent it to you in the text message. The first cut of that it's in the text message. I texted it to you, and it's from an edited video in the black community.
The one. Okay, yeah, the one earlier. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, they're sharing this video around in the black community, and it's edited because it cuts out an important point at the start of the video. And they're saying by virtue of this, he was saying something that he was not saying. And that is that all black women's brains are not big enough to be able to do the job or get it done.
Yeah, and look, I've seen the full video too. I've got this one queued up. Whenever you're ready, I'll swap screens. But I've seen the full video too, and he did insult who was it? Michelle Obama. What's the Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown or whatever?
Ketanji Brown and that black female congressman.
Yeah, and so he was directly denigrating them, but it wasn't because of race. It was in the context of DEI and affirmative action, and what they themselves have admitted on video may have played a part in their education. So that's the full context of it.
Right, and them saying that had it not been for DEI, they wouldn't have gotten to where that they were. Right. But that's not what's being said in the black community. In the black community, African Americans are being told that no, he was a straight up racist because he was saying that all black women don't have the brain capacity. Just play it. Play what he said.
They're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
So
yeah,
so
and
that is edited and it doesn't have the whole context.
Right. Yeah, it's selectively it's just done to gin up the crowd. I hate to say it. It is.
And to me it's racism because it's manipulating black folks into thinking that this guy is a racist, and then by default everybody who supports him if you're white you're a racist, and if you're black you're an Uncle Tom.
Well, hold on a minute. So I'm just going to throw something off the cuff that ain't in the notes. By that stretch of the imagination, then everybody that supported MLK must be a womanizer because he had multiple women. That's a fact, an indisputable fact. Not that it matters. And MLK was a great man and did a whole lot for the civil rights community, and there's zero doubt. And he was also a gun-loving guy, so he's immediately on my good guy list. But by that same stretch, just because you support somebody that's a womanizer, and you can pick whoever it was. I just used MLK as a dramatic person. But does that mean you're a womanizer? Is that how we're going to play this game now? I like Sylvester Stallone. I like a lot of Hollywood actors. Does that mean I support everything that they do? I like Charlie Sheen. Does that mean I support drugs? No.
That's right. So play the original cut. You've got it down there under black women. The original link, and I think it has it all there. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, give me a second here. Let me get it.
We'll let everybody hear the full context of it, and I can't remember on this one, but they'll hear the whole story here.
Yeah, that's the guy from Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Give me 1 second. Let me click a couple of buttons, find the right button to click. Okay, and let me adjust the screen just a little bit to make it look better. Come back. There we go. All right, hold on. Here we go. Sorry for the technical timing here.
That we don't seem to understand what it is anymore. And it's what people call Charlie Kirk, in part for this statement about several prominent black women.
In fact, you know, if we would have said 3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
Was that rude and insensitive of Charlie? Yes. Was it a counterproductive personal attack? Also yes. Was it racist? No. The Oxford English Dictionary defines racism as prejudice or discrimination based on race, or the belief that some races are inherently superior. Out of context, Charlie's statement can sound racist. And here's the context. Charlie was talking about affirmative action policies. He was responding to a series of admissions by several of those black women that they benefited from affirmative action, including this one.
Rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action.
Michelle Obama wrote of her college experiences, I sometimes wondered if people thought I got there because of affirmative action. I went to Harvard, and I've often wondered the same thing. I even had a white liberal, who I knew, throw that in my face. And it's a rational thing to wonder. Charlie voiced the doubt that many were afraid to admit. In a system that factors in race, people will wonder if race is a factor. So if Michelle wondered if people had doubt, wouldn't it be reasonable to expect that some people did have doubt? Now, look, you might think the upside of affirmative action outweighs the downside. That's okay. Charlie disagreed. And here was his mistake. By attacking the intelligence of those women, he made his point in an emotionally unintelligent way. It was racially insensitive. Charlie was a white man commenting on specific black women. So there's a higher chance of him coming across as offensive and other black women feeling defensive. That doesn't mean he can't speak. It's just a reminder to all of us that what you say matters and how you say it matters too. And it wasn't racist. He didn't say they were unqualified because they were black. He said he thought they were unqualified and speculated they were elevated because they were black. And affirmative action policies create the conditions for that speculation. He attacked specific individuals who he thought benefited from a race-based policy. He did not imply that their race made them inferior. Which brings us to our bigger problem. Charlie was just killed. People are celebrating his death. His comment was insensitive, and celebrating death is inhuman. That would be true even if that statement was racist. But that's the problem with social media. An insensitive sentence gets called racist. And then racists get the death sentence. Then people rush to explain, I don't condemn violence, but this is why I'm not bothered. We should all be bothered. We think we know the whole truth, but we don't. Algorithms give us news that confirms our views. So people don't see the Black Leadership Summits Charlie organized. They don't see how he had black allies who he listened to when he made mistakes. Social media is warping our reality and our humanity. A bad argument doesn't make a bad person, but we exaggerate the bad and explain away the good. And now, many are celebrating the death of a man they're certain they understood.
So,
Shall I take that first?
Rock on, bro.
So, I almost 100% agree with his analysis of it. I do agree with his analysis, of course, of the Charlie Kirk part of it. That's quite obvious. But the problem is not social media. It's just not. And even if you make the argument, which he is correct, that the algorithm is a confirmation bias loop, okay, and it's designed to be that way for the most part, it's going to feed you more of what you want. You want to see more. If I want to, right now, my feed on YouTube and Facebook is full of political stuff and Charlie Kirk stuff. If I want to change it back to lots of fishing stuff, I just go start finding fishing videos and clicking on them, and magically it will change back. So you get this feedback loop. He is correct about that. But the problem is, I can't blame all of the actions of everybody doing the things that they do on social media, just like we were getting a little bit sideways on the girl in the Subway Deals murder. Because the problem is, at some point, the people that are watching social media, whether they're perfectly sane or crazy or not, they have the ability to process thought. And they should know, wait a minute, this guy really say this? What the heck? Because that's what I do. And I go start looking for more of it and figure out the full context. Whether it's somebody I agree with, 99% of the time, Charlie Kirk or somebody like that, or even if it's somebody I don't agree with. Did Obama really say that? Is that really what Hillary Clinton said? Is that really what Rush Limbaugh said? I go search it out, and that's the problem, not the social media. And that's a problem whether it's social media or whether it's mainstream news.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the problem is with the people, and I say that, and I was touching on this earlier with Chris and Gary. I think it was Gary, right, that were on the show, and that the problem is that the time to have fought carbon, CCS was during the legislature, but people weren't doing their part and they weren't paying attention. The same as right now. We have allowed society to get sideways because people have been content. They're happy. It's not directly affecting them in their home. And then and I hate to say this the way it is, now you're forced, you've had to not watch, and this is really more directed towards the conservative Republican side. You've watched Steve Scalise get shot. You've watched Trump get shot. You've watched a second attempt on Donald Trump, and you've watched this young lady get stabbed in the side of the neck. And then now you watch Charlie Kirk get shot through the side of his neck graphically. And now some of you feel motivated to pay attention. Stop and think about that. Stop and think about this is what it has taken to get the attention of people to want to pay attention to some of this crap. And
okay, but let me interrupt. Pause for a second. Hold your thought. We talked about this from Tuesday night, and we've talked about this before. And this is going to sound nuts, and I hate to classify everybody into basically two groups. So I'm going to say this generally. There are a few exceptions to this rule, but it's the old adage of there are sheep and sheepdogs. When Michael and I got there, we're literally standing in the back purposely, and we're checking out everybody there and how many Bossier cops there are, how many sheriffs, where are the firemen. We're checking out the, not that we had expected anything, but I do that when I go in a restaurant. Are these tables and booths bolted down to the floor? These thoughts literally go through my head. My wife knows I sit facing the doors or the entranceways, always in a restaurant. My point of that is, not everybody thinks that way. Not that that would stop me from getting shot or getting killed, but at least I'd have half a second of preparation. All right? The same thing applies to politics and everything else. We think a certain way, and a lot of the people that are still hanging out with us think this way because we are immersed in the politics all the time. It's what you and I both love, one of the things we do, and we see it differently. The vast majority of people just do not. And those are the people that have now graphically seen it and are seeing it saturated in not just social media, but the news as well, and they're starting to pay attention. It is a completely different mindset, and it goes back to, and I've said this before, I'll make it brief, the one thing that I took from the Star Trek movies, I'm not a big Star Trek person, but one thing I took was when Jim told Spock told Captain Kirk, we can't discuss me dying and going to the planet and coming back because we have no common frame of reference. And Kirk told Spock, you mean I'd have to die before we could discuss this? And he said, yes, that's correct. A lot of people have no common frame of reference because they're not engaged in the politics like they should be. And that goes right back to what we were discussing earlier with Gary and with Chris. Most people are not engaged in this like we are.
Well, they are not engaged, and a lot of people, me myself, it's like I started out and I said that I wanted to cancel the Tuesday show and I wanted to go to the prayer vigil, because one of the things I struggle with is I hate to say it, but vengeance, because I was so mad. I want vengeance, right? And I'm struggling with it. But at the same time, I also recognize, and a lot of other people struggle with that. And, some people are like, as a Christian, um, you know, I'm taught to love, that's what it's about to be a Christian. And they're right. But the Bible isn't solely, in fact, everybody has a role. And when we start talking about people and you paying attention to what's going on in your community, I take the position that everybody has a responsibility. But specifically, in the Bible, it lays out exactly, and we've talked about this before in a previous show because we've akined our role and what we do, and I by no means say that we do it perfect. I mean, I'm as flawed a human being as there possibly is, and we're doing the best we can through what we do at this show. But I think it's everybody's role, and I think the good Lord puts certain roles on people, and I think one of them is the role that's placed on us that's described in Ezekiel 33, and it's talking about the watchman and sounding the horn. I mean, we try to akin that what we do is sounding the horn. I think additionally, you know, it's kind of everybody's responsibility to be the watchman and to sound the horn, but so many people are asleep and they don't sound the horn. And specifically, it says in there, if the horn's sound and you ignore it, the blood's on your head. But if, you're the person to blow the horn and you're not doing your job and nobody hears it because you don't blow it, then it's going to be on your head. So
yeah, I agree, but I go back to, and you're correct, but I go back to the thing that most people are just going about their lives. They're waking up in the morning. They're worried about whether their kid's going to be thrown off of a school bus because the teacher couldn't watch a movie or the bus driver couldn't watch a movie or whatever the deal is. I'm being a little facetious there. They just want to worry about that, going to the job, coming home, maybe getting their kid to ball practice, that sort of thing. And I agree with you that unfortunately a lot of people have been way too asleep at the wheel for far too long. And the problem is getting worse. And I would argue probably going to get a little bit worse before it starts to even resemble getting better, unfortunately. I'm not a pessimist. I'm always an optimist, but I look at it as the glass is half full, not half empty. That means half of it's gone, one way or the other.
Yeah. So I'm about
I-
ready to wrap this up myself, and I'm gonna leave and give some folks some encouragement. Romans 12:17 through 21, Exodus 22:2 through 3, Luke 22:36 through 38, Romans 13:1 through 4. You want to get a little bit of guidance on how you should be feeling and as a Christian on today in these times. Every one of those ought to incite you, because I had to go look, and because I was struggling with it, and I know I'm not the only person. And it's not going to hurt you to go read a few verses. It may help you to get you focused, and we all are going to need it. We all need to step up and be the watchman and take a role. And I don't know. That's about all I can tell you.
Hey, amen to that. And look, I realize we've still got, I don't know, we've still got 35, 40 people watching now, unless Facebook and all them are starting to cut us off. But we appreciate everybody watching. This wasn't really the normal show, at least this part of it. We got a ton of stuff to talk about from Benton, but this part of the show, to me, was far more important than the drama that, a little bit of drama that's going on up there in Benton, because this is the soul of our nation. And arguably, the soul of everybody with what is going on right now. And we just need to have these discussions. And Duke, like you said, Tuesday night was not the night for us to discuss this, because it would have been a far different show, even Tuesday night.
It would have been a far different show. Yeah.
As we've had a few more days to reflect on it.
I can't think of. I want to close the show out. Two links above your cursor there, Eric and Charlie, and I want to play this video. And I want y'all. This to me is Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
This to me is Charlie Kirk, and just.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anybody watched the video of Erica, I could immediately sense the anger with her, and I think this is a great choice, Duke, because when you see this video, you'll understand why this woman was understandably sad, but she was also very angry. So, yeah, we'll just play this one and we'll roll straight out of it. Good choice. All right, here we go.
I'm not going to be able to focus sitting this close to him.
Hi. You ready? What?
Hello. I'm not going to be able to focus looking right at you. I'm just going to be staring at you.
Hello.
Oh. Wow.
Ready, Terrell?
Hold on.
We're rolling?
We're not.
All right, you'll be switching? All right, I'll count it down.
Wait. I'm kind of nervous, you guys.
She's nervous, which is why we must get going. All right, we ready?
No.
Yes, sir. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Charlie Kirk Show.
You're going to have to do it again.
Introduce yourself.
Is that what you're going to say?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Charlie Kirk Show.
You're so handsome.
I'm engaged. Would you like to introduce yourself, or should I introduce you?
This is mortifying.
How would you like me to start? All right, we'll try it again. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Charlie Kirk Show. Joining me is the most special guest, my fiancée, Erica. Welcome to The Charlie Kirk Show.